Wow, good job, everyone. That was our toughest question.
So how do you schedule to take your DAT? I low-key forgot. Taylor's on a roll.
How much is the DAT fee?
Jeez.
That's as much as DAT Bootcamp Pro. Ooh, 5 hours? It's a long time.
No, Taylor fell off. Oh, man. I got a funny story. So I rescheduled my DAT. Oh, sorry. I rescheduled my DAT a day before my test, a day before. So that's the latest you could reschedule. So you could always reschedule it, guys. Heads up.
You can see your unofficial scores right after you finish taking the DAT. Yeah, this was my favorite part about taking the DAT, because with a lot of other tests, you have to wait like for a week or two, and it's really dreadful. But here, I mean, it also, it might suck as well if you get a really low score, but at least you know. All right, May.
Interesting.
Well, you guys are really fast.
All right, so within how many months must you take the DAT after applying to take the exam? That was a tough question. That was actually really hard.
There's a couple of these I'm not sure on, honestly. Ooh.
Ooh.
All right, last question. To win absolutely nothing but bragging rights, one everyone should have answered by now. There you go.
Taylor came back to third. Wow. She got all 10 right. Wow.
Ooh. Oh, damn.
You and May. That's amazing.
Very nice. All right. Well, that was a great icebreaker.
All right, so we have a few questions prepared, but feel free to use the chat or unmute yourself if any of you guys have questions. But we can start it off just with how did you use DAT Bootcamp to study for your DAT?
Brandon, go ahead.
Yeah, so how I use DAT Bootcamp, so there's Ari's schedule or 10-week schedule. And I was so excited because I was like, damn, there's a schedule formed and everything. I don't have to do anything, just follow it. But lo and behold, after like the third day, I fell behind and I was so behind. And I started getting stressed out. So I kind of reorganized my schedule towards what worked best for me. I did try to kind of formulate or simulate how it would be during test day. So I would kind of do natural sciences first during my studying, then I'd follow it by reading comprehension, and then I would take a little break and then do math and then PAT to end the day. So that's kind of how I simulated it. And then towards like my last 2 weeks of studying right before my DAT, I took practice tests, like full lengths every other day. And on my off day, I would use to review my full length, and then I would just take a new one and then just keep going and going. I highly recommend, like, if you're going to sign up for DAT Bootcamp, especially, retake the test at least once and see if you like really understood the material, if you improved your score. And I don't think that the score is a way to see how you actually score on the DAT. It's a way to see if you actually know the material. So don't ever get discouraged by like a bad score.
So to follow up on what Brandon says, I know that admissions committees in general like it when you don't take the DAT more than twice. If need be, take it twice. You know, if you have an AA that's not that competitive, like a 16, then go for the third time. Taking it twice is completely fine. I took mine, I almost took mine twice. I actually studied for another extra summer because I got a 19 AA and I thought that I would be able to improve. But then last minute, I kind of just canceled and didn't go for it because I thought I was going to get a 19 and maybe a 20, but I didn't want to risk getting a lower score. So I thought 19 on the first try looked better than like 2 19s in a row. When studying, I use Aris study guide and it's so nice. It was just, everything is laid out for you. So you don't have to think about what you need to study. You can just focus all your energy into actually learning the material that Ari has set out for you to do. I also, similar to Brandon, fell behind. And my biggest tip though for studying for DAT, I found myself studying, spending more time on things that I was good at. So I remember spending a lot of time on like PAT section, and I did great on the PAT section, but there were certain points where I was realizing, oh, I should be spending more time on the topics that I'm not good at, because everyone likes to get questions right and improve the things, improve their strengths.
Thank you. So follow-up question to both of you guys and what you guys have mentioned. How would you describe Ari's study schedule? Like, do you think that they're realistic? Just because I know both you guys fell behind, like, do most people stay on track, and how long does it usually take, you know, to stay on track, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I could go ahead and talk about this because I was so frustrated in that study guide. I was like, yo, this is way too hard and this is not possible. But for me, I studied like around 10 hours or so every day. And I think people recommend to do like 8 to 12 just because of how many things that you have to do like on each day. You like really fall behind. So yeah, it took around that much time, and I think it should take around that much time for a lot of people. I totally understand if you're working or going to school. Definitely you can't study 8 to 12 hours, you know, but my best advice or suggestion is just study every day, review the natural sciences as much as you can, because that's the most important. And then followed by like PAT and QR.
Yeah, I think that a quick remedy is just extend your study time if you can. If you know Ari's week, Ari's guide is 10 or 12 weeks, I think 10 weeks. So just like extended a few extra weeks and have like some leeway before you start studying, so that you can fall back on the extra couple weeks that you have. I remember falling back, but also I was only studying like 6 to 8 hours a day max. I just didn't want to get burnt out really. And ideally, you do have dedicated time to study for the DAT. And I in an ideal world, like you have, like you build your habits to make yourself successful for the DAT. So like every single morning that summer, I would always start my day with a workout. So just to get it out of the way. And then, you know, I believe that when you're exercising too, your brain will function to a higher capacity. And then I was lucky enough to have food at home that my parents were able to cook for me. So try and, you know, develop habits like from the very start, because it's the easiest to develop habits at the very start. So at the beginning, oh, okay, I'm going to do this 3 hours, these 3 hours like study session. I'm going to make sure to put my phone in the other room, like something like that.
Awesome. How thorough did you find the DAT Bootcamp notes?
I thought it was amazing. The DAT Bootcamp notes, especially for Chem and OChem, were phenomenal. I think there's a reaction sheet that they give you, and I literally memorized every reaction from that reactant, reagent, product. And what worked really best for me is that I made my own set of flashcards based on the questions that appeared on DAT Bootcamp, and also everything that appeared in that reaction sheet. So I thought that was really helpful. For bio, I think they do have summarized notes, right, on DAT Bootcamp, if I'm not mistaken. I thought that was really helpful, and I supplemented that with either like Ferrari's or that AP Bio book. But also then again, you don't want to use too many resources when you're studying. I think picking like 1 or 2 max is good because you don't want to spread yourself out too thin. What I really recommend while studying is like layering the information. So study like the broad topic first and then go into detail the next time that you go over that topic, and keep going into further detail and further detail so that you build a strong foundation from the start and know the finer details towards the end of your studying. I think DAT Bootcamp has phenomenal notes. It's like really good. Just for the bio section, it's like so summarized and vague where you might have to supplement it with like either Ferrari's or another resource. What about you, Jack?
I thought the notes were also like insanely good, especially for biology actually, because I mean, although they're condensed notes, biology, there's just so much breadth and so much material to cover in biology. I didn't even supplement like the notes from bootcamp. If I did choose to supplement the notes, sometimes I did, it would be with like a YouTube video or something, something that I don't have to read again because I'm already reading this, like these notes, and you know, everyone learns differently, of course. So, but it's always great to hit on, you know, the tactile, visual, auditory, like all of them. You'll be able to learn it deeper. And my focus, I mean, my favorite part about the course, one of my favorite parts were all the videos, the chemistry OChem videos. Thought Mike was really funny. Joel is really funny too. And when you're even like just little jokes here and there, anything that makes you enjoy the content or what you're studying will allow you to like stay more focused.
So we got 2 questions in the chat. I just want to answer it real quick because I love how you guys are asking questions. So is it true that the DAT has physics section starting this past month? I'm not too sure. I don't know if there's a physics section.
I know what he's referring to. When I saw that post on the Facebook page, I was freaking out, but it was an April Fool's joke that Ari posted. So there's no.
It was. Oh,
right.
I was freaking out too, but I didn't even like where it wasn't even gonna take it.
Yeah, what a terrible April Fool's joke. I wouldn't have
Ari too
if I had to take physics on the section. So yeah, that was honestly the worst class ever in college. So I'm glad that it's a joke.
The
Is
Canadian
it?
DAT, you have to take physics though.
I
Actually,
know
not
for the
anyone
MCAT you
cares. No
have
one's
to.
Canadian here.
And then is it good? Is it a good idea to choose DAT Bootcamp with Destroyer? So a lot of people ask this question, and not because I'm like some ambassador for DAT Bootcamp, but I think Destroyer is good for certain subjects. I don't think for everything. For general chemistry, I highly recommend it in QR, just because for GChem, just the topic alone is plug and chug. If you know the formula, you plug in what you're given and you find the unknown. Right? For QR, same thing. Like they could only ask you so many questions. However, if you look at Destroyer for the biology section, it's so random. It's like it's stupid. It's really random in that like it has no relation to, I guess, the types of questions that actually appear in the actual DAT. Along with OChem, I think it's a little too hard where it kind of like you get really discouraged after like the fifth question, and you feel like you like all the studying you've done for like 20 days was like not even worth it. So I think especially for me, since I really struggled in OChem in college and excelled really well on the DAT, I think DAT Bootcamp is just enough for bio and OChem. I think Destroyer is really good for GChem and QR for sure.
Yes, I don't agree with Brandon here. Thank you for sharing though, Brandon. So for, for DAT Bootcamp, for Ari study guide, correct me if I'm wrong, but it tells you to buy Destroyer, right? Okay. Anyways, I bought Destroyer. I think I saw it on the study
I
guide.
thought they hate each other. I thought they were
Was
like
it?
talking.
Okay.
Like,
It was another company though. There was like an extra 2 books that they wanted you to buy.
I'm not sure.
Okay, regardless, I bought Destroyer. I didn't use it a single bit. I just think DAT Bootcamp is completely comprehensive enough, and also the amount of questions that you have on there, they're more applicable for the DAT. And when you like, if you do run out of questions, I never ran out of questions when I took the pro subscription. The pro subscription is like the $500 one. We're giving away the like $900 one that is a lot bigger. I don't think you're gonna get through everything. And if you do get through everything and all the practice tests, then just practice the ones that you got wrong. But regardless, I don't think most people in this room are gonna get through like everything on DAT Bootcamp. And yeah, Destroyer is a lot tougher. You're already in a state of stress when you're studying, and you want to just, to motivate yourself, see those scores slowly like creeping up. And then like if you want to like start Destroyer later on, then it could like crush your confidence before taking the exam. I don't think that's what you want as like a mentality thing before going into the exam. So I would say stay away, and you don't need to use it.
Oh yeah, another tip that just like came across now that Jack said like study the ones that you got wrong. I made a notebook of I put all the questions that I got wrong and I wrote it in that notebook. And I thought that was so helpful because I would like look through that notebook every day and literally like look at every explanation that I didn't understand, and I would just review it and review it and review it and just try to drill it down. So that's one huge tip that I recommend if you're going to study using like DAT Bootcamp, Booster, whatever it is. Definitely have your own separate notebook of just wrong answers and stuff that you don't understand. So another person in the chat asked, why did you guys choose UCSF Dental School? And I've done so many calls with Jack, and I feel like I always answer this question first. So Jack, you could go first on this one.
Okay, let's see. Why did I choose UCSF? Oh, this is like a good interview question too. Like all the schools will ask you, why do you want to come to this specific school? I chose it mainly because of all the opportunities that it would give me. So I didn't know if I wanted to go into specialty, and I still don't know for sure if I want to go into specialty. But if I do, I know that we have a lot of the specialties literally one floor below us, like where the D1s are on the 4th floor. So you can just go in, you can meet the faculty advisor or like the head of, you know, perio or endo, and just shadow and assist as much as you want, and it's super convenient. It's right there. Another thing was UCSF, #1 school for research, or at least #1 funded school for research. So if you want to get into research, there's going to be research for you here, and it's not going to be that tough to get into. I think everyone that like really wanted to get into research got into research. One more thing I'll say is like the vast amount of clubs. So I was really interested in CDC, and it's like a student run clinic where you get to assist and practice like what you've been learning on like real patients. And it's just like a completely free clinic. So that's where I learned a lot. I mean, I did it one time, and I probably will do it again next year as well. And it was pretty cheap for a California school. You know, it's also in San Francisco. A lot of people like San Francisco. And well, it was also the best school I got into, so I'm gonna go there. Specialization rates, that's another thing. Specialization rates, a little bit higher than the national average. All right, take it away, Brandon.
Oh, sorry. Can I ask a question regarding like the specializing? Because you were saying like you have the opportunity to shadow like a floor down. And so how does that work? Like, would you have to apply to shadow, or like, do you have to, like, do they select certain students in order to, or like, would there be like a certain amount?
Yeah, that's a good question, Jamie. And so typically if you want to shadow at like the specialty clinics, you would just have to contact the program director of that specialty and ask if you could come shadow. Also, another way to go about it is just contact a resident. I don't think there's like a maximum capacity pre-COVID. Probably since we're in COVID, you know, it's a little bit harder. I know for D1s especially, they didn't allow it. But if you matriculate starting this fall or even next year, I'm sure there's not going to be an issue with the capacity. But definitely contact the coordinator or the faculty member that's in charge of that specialty, and they'll be more than willing to let you come.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And then why I chose UCSF, you know, Jack mentioned a lot of great things. And honestly, one thing I wanted to touch base on was how our schools pass fail. I didn't realize the importance of going to a pass fail school. It kind of enhances and allows more freedom to do other avenues or do other things within dental school that you're really passionate about. So for me, there's like other things that I'm passionate about, and I've joined like different clubs, and I've learned so much through it. And what's so nice about it is that since we have these lunch and learns, I've learned so much about dentistry and the business aspect of dentistry that's not really taught within dental school. It's so nice that we have like these lunch and learns through like all these clubs that we have on campus, and they bring like alumni or even faculty that kind of expand on things that, like, as I said, you're not taught in dental school. And I didn't realize how important it is to pick a school where you'll have the most fun at. You're going to spend the next 4 years there, and whatever school you go to, you're going to end up getting a degree, right? So I think it's really important to see the environment. What kind of social life? How is it like outside of academics? Because I find that so important, because since you're going to be in a high stress environment, I think it's nice to always have like a work-life balance, as I would say. So like at our school, we have 3 dental fraternities, and about everyone in our class joins one, and you kind of find a family within that and gain mentors within, I guess, the fraternity that you join. So me and Jack happen to join the same fraternity, and we have like our big bro or big sis that are friends, and like we're all close and we're all one. And what's so nice about it is like they spend so much time with us in sim lab to kind of give us tips and tricks that like faculty members don't really tell us about. And it makes things, the introduction into sim lab or even into clinic, a lot more smooth. Wow, there's so many questions. I love this. Do you want to hit the next one, Jack?
All right, where are we? Oh, wow. So what are the main criterias that any dental school use to evaluate a potential student? Oh, okay. Pretty easy question. Good question though. Every school is a little different when it comes to like what exactly they're looking for. UCSF in particular is like a very holistic school. So your DAT or GPA, of course, matters just like in any school, but not as much here. I think I got into UCSF because more so of extracurriculars, because my DAT was a 19. I applied with a 3.5, which was average. So just my stats wouldn't have got me in. Let's see. So every dental school, they're gonna look at in America are gonna look at your GPA, your DAT. If I had to give a percentage, generally, it would be 30% GPA, 25% DAT, and then the rest are going to be your extracurriculars, your amount of volunteer hours, shadowing hours. What else is there? Oh yeah, your letters of recommendation and your personal statement. All of them are really important. If you have like, if you're really lacking in one area, you straight up can just be cut. Like I know that some schools have a cut for your DAT at 16, and other schools it could be 15, and then there could be also be a cut for your GPA. So make sure that every part of your application is at least at some level of par, and then you want to have those standout activities that you have done.
Can I ask a question about your calculated GPAs? Like the science GPA, because I know it varies per school, and you have to do like the ADSAS GPA calculator. So I was wondering, like, did you notice that it was higher? Like the schools determined that it was higher for them than your ADSAS, or lower?
I guess that's all dependent on like, I guess the universities or institutions you went to, and then what like actually counts as your prereqs, what doesn't. Because if you went to a community college, some classes that you took or these like filler classes won't really count towards your GPA. Also, another thing to consider is what if you like retook a class? I think that like kind of brings down your GPA because it's averaged. For me personally, I think my GPA might have went up a little, but by like plus or minus like 0.1 or 2, not like a big amount. But yeah, what about you, Jack?
Okay.
I don't remember if it went up or down, but I really don't think you need to be worrying about if it goes up or down by like 0.5. There's, in the grand scheme of your application, it really won't matter. And there's also so many other factors that aren't accounted for like in the application, such as what school you went to. Like if they accepted people from UCI before and everyone's doing like really well in anatomy from UCI, they're gonna take that into factor. Like a B at UCI for anatomy might be like a B plus somewhere else. So you never know exactly what they're thinking in terms of that. And also community college. You don't want to take too many classes out of community college. It's not looked up upon. But you can still do it. Like, you know, Brandon did great and he's completely set for dental school. He's like following along really easier, having a easier time than I am. But it is still a factor. So there's a lot of factors that aren't like clearly laid out on the application.
Yeah, because I was like, I spoke to like my pre-health advising director, and she was saying like a lot of the schools, like they just list science GPAs like chem, bio, biochem, physics, and other science. Like the courses they have, like they don't specifically apply to my school, and so we're not sure if like a lot of my courses are actually considered as other science, or if it would just add to my cumulative GPA. It's like I wasn't sure if it was like it would change that much.
If you have a specific question, call the school. Just call admissions. I don't know how receptive they are now, because of COVID.
Not
And
very.
yeah,
Darn.
unfortunate.
Yeah, I think emailing would be a good option too. Just calling that the admissions of like a school that you really want to go to. And I know plenty of dental students of my classmates that have done that, and they received like feedback. But you could go ahead and just message me directly, and then we could just talk it out and see like what might possibly work or what might not. I think I might have a good understanding of what might transfer over or not.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course. All right. So does having letter of recommendation from several dentists, including the owner of a dental clinic and office manager, beneficial to gain interview for a dental school? So I think for all schools, you just need one letter of rec from a dentist. I would prefer it to be from a dentist just because they have a DDS degree and they could speak on your behalf. I wouldn't necessarily advise you to ask your office manager, although you have a great connection with her. Maybe she could have a little blurb of her experience, her personal interaction with you, but don't have the letterhead and the signature from her directly. I'd recommend it being from a dentist. And then does Prometric Centers provide any equations during the test? General chemistry or QR? No, they don't, if I'm correct. I don't think they do. So you have to come in having everything memorized. What I did was, I think there's like a little tutorial of how to use or how to navigate the section or whatever online. And they kind of have like, oh, this is the introduction, like here's a sample question, right? During that time, don't even like try to do the sample question. Write all these formulas that you have on your head and just like, or in mind, and just write it on the paper that you're given, just because you could use that as reference while you take the test. And that's like just like maybe like 1 or 2 minutes, like a window of like free time you have to really write those equations. So for me, like right before my DAT, I had like all these equations that I brought to Prometric, or even during my lunch break, and I like literally just like reviewed it, because there's some equations or some like things that I like always forget for some reason, no matter how many times I look at it. So it's good to like reference to that and then just like write it real quick on your note paper or scratch paper that they give you, if that makes sense.
Perfect. So one thing I'd like to add to the letter of recommendations, I'm not sure if you mean like getting it from both the dentist and the office manager, or several dentists and the office manager. As long as you're not annoying about it, I think it's fine. I know that I sent in like an additional letter, not even through AdSAS, because I was already full with all the letters of recommendation, and I was still fine.
Oh, also make sure that sorry to chime in, Jack, but just make sure that the letter of rec from the dentist is from a general dentist, not from someone that specializes, because you are applying to become a general practitioner or go to school for one. So you should have it from a general dentist, not from a specialist.
Yeah. Same for the personal statement that you're writing. You want to, gear it more towards dentist, like general dentistry. That's the degree that you're getting.
Yeah.
And I know, like, don't be scared about shadowing specialists if you do have like a good 200 hours already over general. I know a lot of successful applicants, like 2 people that are at Harvard right now, where they shadowed every single specialist. And I'm sure if you have shadowed every single specialist, there's going to be a little blurb in your personal statement about it.
I have a question about like work. Oh, sorry. About like work
go ahead.
experience. You guys are saying like it's better to have like letter of rec and like experience regarding general dentistry. But like, what about work experience? Like, what if you've been working like within a specialty? Because like I applied to like the dental offices and stuff, but like they're only looking for full-time, and I'm also a full-time student. So I wasn't able to apply to those. So I was just wondering, like, should I just try to do that instead?
I don't
So
think
you're
it's a bad
saying,
thing that you have like a full-time position at a specialty clinic. But all I know from like admissions point of view, they just recommend that you get it from a general dentist.
Okay.
So yeah,
it's still
I think
better
if
than nothing, though.
oh yeah, like for sure, for sure. But like if you're thinking about I think the safe bet is to get it just from a general dentist and try to find a shadowing opportunity and go from there.
Okay.
Because I wouldn't like recommend that you get it from a specialty and have that be the reason that maybe you don't get an interview to somewhere. I'd rather have you take the safe bet than the sorry bet. So the next question, what dental school starts early with hands-on?
So I can't list off the top of my head exactly what dental school, when they start hands-on. I know that UCSF starts our hands-on activities like literally the first quarter. So first week of dental school after orientation, you're starting it. And most other schools, I would say, do that as well. I know like University of Tennessee, they just started their first crowns, like their second year of dental school, and schools like
Yeah, in Georgia too.
Columbia, right? And Columbia is a little bit slower as well to start hands-on.
Okay, I just have a follow-up question. Why do certain schools start like clinical experiences later than the others? Is it because like they take more classes? Like,
I guess it's just how the curriculum is. I think it just varies on like, I guess what the state requires, especially if they're public school, you know, they have to follow like a certain like state regulation or yeah, it's just how their curriculum is built. I personally, like if you are applying to dental schools, maybe look at like their the schedule of like D1 and D2 year and see how often you're in sim lab if you're worried about the hands-on experience. Because in clinic, when you're third and fourth year, you're going to be in clinic regardless. But if you're if hands-on, having good sim lab experience is important to you, definitely look into the D1 and D2 schedule for that school. For us, we could talk on behalf of UCSF. I really like it because the first day we went straight into sim lab, and we did during our first year we did crowns, onlays, inlays, a lot of restorative, class 1 through 5s. So it's been pretty good experience overall. But I know there's like other schools that, like as Jack mentioned, like Tennessee or Georgia, that are going to do like crowns their second year and whatnot. I don't think, honestly, I personally think SimLab is just like a small segue into clinic. I heard clinic is completely different, and I'm sure Brendan can talk about that too, but it's completely different. And I don't think SimLab prepares you entirely for it because every patient case is different. And every experience and encounter you're going to have is always going to be different.
Yeah, there's going to be things that you learn in simulation lab that you're going to completely throw out, like your clinic overseer is going to be like, no, we don't do that, or like your D2, 3, or 4 is going to tell you, no, like we don't do that in the real world. And another thing is like schools, because of the board exams, it changed to like an integrated board exams. You have to see how well that the school adapt to that. So the ones that adapted sooner would have the hands-on stuff sooner as well.
So the next question. Well, I'm surprised there's this many questions. It's good. All right. So I work as a dental assistant in 3 different clinics and volunteer in 1. Will it help with balance my GPA of 3.0 and planning to take the DAT on September?
Yeah, definitely. Like what I said before, you want to hit that certain baseline. So the GPA of 3.0, I know for some school that would probably be under the cutoff. But what was the lowest GPA that got into UCSF? I think might have been under 3.0. And I know the lowest DAT that got into UCSF was a 17.
Do you guys recommend like taking like postbac classes or doing postbac programs?
Yeah, I did a postbac. I did a postbac right when I graduated Irvine, and I don't regret it whatsoever because I didn't have trouble applying to dental school at all. But it's all dependent on how you feel about your application. If you think your GPA is the thing that's lacking, so for me, I graduated UC Irvine with a 3.2 something. I was like, I really want to stay in California. I looked at the averages in California schools, and I was just like, this is like 0.3 more than mine. So I decided to do a postbac at UCSF, and I think it paid off for sure. And if you're ever in the shoes of like deciding to do a postbac or master's, I think master's is more geared towards people that aren't science majors and they have to take just bio classes, more bio classes to really show that they can handle the rigors of dental school, right? But for postbac, you kind of select what classes you want to take, and that enhances your GPA. So that you could apply. I'd recommend if you're ever deciding between the two, definitely do a postbac program over a master's program, just because master's programs, most of them are like 2 years long, if I'm not mistaken, and postbac is like 1. And the end goal is to get into dental school. It's not to get another 2 letters at the end of your name through a master's program. So I think doing a postbac program is well worth.
How much was it, if you don't mind me asking?
It was the same tuition as UCI. The only thing that made it more expensive was the cost of living in San Francisco.
Okay.
So they say like, oh, it's so expensive to do a postbac. For me, it was literally 1 more year of college and just a little bit more money because I lived in San Francisco. So it was like definitely a great opportunity for me. And I don't think it's too expensive to do a postbac in general, in my opinion, but I feel like the debt that you accumulate from just doing a postbac alone is so minuscule to the debt that you're going to accumulate in dental school. So if you know that doing a postbac is going to enhance your application, why not do it?
Okay.
That's the way I see it.
And they don't receive aid, right? Like for postbac, like they don't get like FAFSA or anything?
You do loans, and I think you get like a small grant from the school depending on like if you or if you're granted it, I guess.
Okay.
A lot of you also have to think that like there are a lot of scholarships, specifically more so towards the American citizens. So if you do a postbac and end up being a way more competitive applicant, and let's say you got into like similar schools, you could use that as a way to lower the tuition of another one, or you could just straight up get some sort of academic scholarship or another scholarship. My advice to Brian specifically, I think you should do a postbac. The GPA of 3.0 is going to be really tough, a hindrance. You could also apply this year because the second time you apply for dental school, you actually have a greater shot of getting in than your first shot. So you could do both, apply for postbac and apply for dental school. If you don't crush DAT, like if you don't get a good score on the DAT, like 20 or over, then I think maybe don't even apply because it might be just a waste of money.
Did both of you get in on your first cycle?
Yeah, I got in my first cycle. So is a 4th letter of rec highly recommended / necessary? If so, would it be better to have it from a science professor or humanities professor? So if I were like an admissions committee member, I think, or even if I was an applicant, again, a reapplicant, I think a 4th letter is always better. It's not necessary. I highly recommend it because you have another person that could speak on your behalf. And probably talk about something that isn't said in your application. And I think it only helps you. And I think that's up to you, right? If you want to do a science professor, you're more than welcome to. I would recommend that you do it from a science professor, just because you're going to be taking science classes in dental school. So that's more relatable, I guess. But if you have a humanities professor that could really speak highly of you, I don't think it would hurt.
When I did my recommendation letters, Clark University, the school that I went to, did a committee recommendation letter. So if you're applying to dentistry or like medical school, my school required you to get like 5 recommendations. So 3 from science, 1 from a non-science, and another one from whoever you wanted. So I got it from my tennis coach. But they definitely emphasize more science professors rather than another professor. Even like when I wanted my calc professor, my pre-health advisor was telling me to like really think about it and see if I can get a science professor, because that's what they really look at. And yeah, I agree. Definitely recommend a 4th letter, even a 5th one. If you know that you're just an amazing human being or can get really great letters of recommendation, then fill that portion out.
All right, so as our time approaches 10, and before we end this event, I, on behalf of BA and students at Dentistry, would like to thank our panelists, Brandon and Jack, for coming, dedicating their time to answering, pre-dents curiosities and questions. I know there's a bit of, questions left that were left unanswered. I'm unsure if Jack and Brandon are able to stay a few minutes after 10, but if they're not, they can definitely drop their Instagrams or whatever social media platforms that you can definitely reach them at and talk to them. But yeah, thank you guys so much for coming. Thank you guys for asking the questions. This was a great event.
Yeah, well said. I mean, thank you so much. Without you guys, this event wouldn't have happened. So thank you for setting everything up,
Yes,
organizing.
Thank you so much,
Brandon,
student dentistry. Make sure to check them out. They post great content about upcoming dental students and people that are super interested about dentistry and helping those and other people. I think you should definitely reach out to either Jack or I, or even the people that appear on Students of Dentistry, because they're more than willing to answer your guys' questions. And yeah, thank you guys so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Brendan, are you down to quickly just go through these questions and answer them with a few sentences?
Of course. Let's do it. Let's bang these out.
Do it.
All right, no more questions.
Fire.
Right, would it be better to have shadowing? All right.
Busting rhymes over here.
So would it be better to have shadowing in multiple clinics or the same amount of hours, but in the same clinics, or does it matter? Oh yeah. Anyways, clinic. You guys are welcome to leave if you have to go, since me and Jack are just answering out these questions. Do you want to answer this one?
Yeah, I think the same clinic, if you have a bunch of hours in that same clinic, like if you have over 100 hours already, then it makes sense for you to try and go to another clinic, just so, because every single clinic is run completely differently, so that'd be a good experience. What they like to see though is the consistency. Like they'd rather see you shadow like starting your freshman year of college and then shadowing 5 hours every week, rather than oh, you started your junior year of college and you shadowed 20 hours a week. Can I get a letter of recommendation from general dentist and oral surgeon? Hell yeah, you can. Why not? Brandon, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think you can definitely do it. I think you're only allowed 1 letter of rec, so have them both combine it or something and submit it as 1.
What if the dentist is a specialist whom we assist? Does general dentistry as well? Will it be okay? Yeah, I mean, I think you can tailor it towards general dentistry. It's all about the way that you say and the experiences that you that you want to talk about. Yeah. not DAT related, but did you both get started on social media and gain sponsorships like one with bootcamp, DAT bootcamp? How did you both get started on social media and gain sponsorships? Personally, for me, I got started on YouTube first, and I got started my senior year of college. It was actually a two bird, one stone type of deal because I was taking a business course and I needed to create my own business, and then YouTube was my business. So I had that course keeping me accountable for YouTube, YouTube keeping me accountable for that course. And I've loved it. I think it's the most rewarding thing. The next step would be to, branch into Instagram and, probably TikTok as soon as I can, because that's really where it's at right now.
For me, I just started this thing because I just wanted to help people out. And then it slowly began with like the sponsorships, and they just started like, I don't know, just contacting and DMing me. Specifically for DAT Bootcamp though, that was always like my dream. I was like, oh, I've always wanted to like do a giveaway. And Jack was that plug and that segue into doing this. Since he had already done a raffle with them, he kind of put me in a CC or email thread, and we just made it happen from there.
Yeah. So one more thing to add to that too is I made the YouTube channel because I didn't have a lot of pre-dental help as when I was in undergrad. Like I said, we didn't have a pre-dental society even, so I had to make that too. And our pre-health advisor there wasn't a lot of people from Clark that were getting into dental school or even in pre-dent. So it was just, it made the process tougher. I'm not, I don't regret it at all because I still am where I am, and now I'm able to help other people out. But that was the main driving factor.
Alrighty, next one. Are you guys have been dental? I think they're just asking if we've been a dental assistant. Yeah, I was a dental assistant during my gap year after my postbac, and a little bit prior to doing my postbac also. And I'm sure Jack was too. Where did you...
If I was allowed, I mean, if I was allowed to be a dental assistant in America, I definitely would have, but
oh yeah,
I wasn't able to.
Canadian, eh?
Yeah, not allowed to work at all, ever.
It's true. He was a bartender though. He can make a nice mojito. I
come to UCSF and we'll have
I can talk on his behalf. Where did you do your postbac? I did my postbac at UCSF. And how can you apply as postbac, and how does that process work? It's kind of similar to dental school where there's an application, you have your CV, you put in all your extracurricular activities, you talk about like your work history, research, the whole 9 yards, and then there's a personal statement. You need a letter of rec, and there's also an interview process. The thing about the postbac program though, I think it's like kind of competitive too, in that they only accept maybe like 5 candidates and 200 apply. So the statistics are kind of similar to dental school in that manner. So definitely when you're applying to postbacs, apply to many across the board that you're interested in, and specifically ones that have dental schools, because usually they give you great mentorship from the admissions coordinator. And also they might have like a guarantee or a promise where if you like reach a certain DAT or GPA, you get like an automatic interview or automatic acceptance. So it's definitely well worth it.
Also, we were supposed to talk about this way before. Sorry. But yeah, everyone here is entered for the giveaway for DAT Bootcamp Plus. But also, if you want to be entered like a second time, have an extra entry, that would be through Brandon and I's Instagram. So we have a post, a recent post that we did, and all you have to do is, well, the instructions are on there, but like the post, follow DAT Bootcamp, me, Brandon, and then share it to your story. And then that will give you extra entry into this giveaway.
What's up, Jamie?
Sorry, I interrupted you.
Sorry. I just wanted to know about like the credit load for like the postbac. Like, how many credits? Is there a limit of how many we can do, or like, is there a minimum?
I think there's a minimum to finish the postbac program. There's definitely not a maximum. But definitely like the more credits you take, the more, I guess, the less it has an impact on your GPA because it's just adding more and more credits, right?
Yeah.
Even if you did well. So just be strategic when you take your classes or decide to pick your classes. And also keep in mind that when you apply on the ASS application, Postback has its own GPA that's listed at the bottom that's separate from your undergrad GPA.
So is it, would you not recommend studying for the DAT for the first time while starting a postbac?
I recommend taking the DAT before or after, but not during, because you want to kill it in the postbac and get a 4.0 and then focus on the next step, which is the DAT, or you could do that before, but don't do it during, because I think that's a crucial time for you to really showcase yourself and your abilities to handle school.
Okay, great.
All right. I think that is all the questions.
Yeah, that is it.
Great. Thank you again for setting this up, and thank you for everyone that was able to make it. I'm always, happy to, and Brandon as well, just like to talk to pre-dents and help them throughout this stressful last process. Excuse my language.
Yeah, thank you.